Dear recipient family, Maya was a 7-month-old little girl. She was such a happy baby and cried very little. Maya was the joy of our lives. Everybody.
There is no greater humble appreciation for this Shreveport mother than knowing her daughter is alive today because of a selfless decision made some 600 miles away. 3 weeks ago, we showed you how little Ivana Harris literally died daily. For the first 2 months of her life back in 2016, her heart would go out and was shot back to life until a donor in Topeka, Kansas, a donor heart arrived to save her life. Well, tonight, we expose the kind of good stuff that can come from one of the worst days a parent will ever experience. A decision that delivered life and closure to a Shreveport family. A decision made by heartbroken parents to help someone they didn't even know. A decision by that Kansas family they're confident will help save lives for years to come.
Maya, when you came into this world on Friday night, March 11th, 2016, at 8:43 p.m., you were 9 pounds and 8 ounces and 20 inches long.
2 years ago, life inside this Topeka, Kansas home was grand.
Joy overflowed in your mommy and daddy's heart.
Aaron and Trevor Young welcomed their firstborn into this world, and the months as a new family quickly began adding up.
Your daddy was tearing up, and we both loved you so much from the start.
Maya's first moments on earth were penned by Aaron in a letter, a way for Aaron to process her emotions.
My mind just kept on rushing and rushing and rushing. Gears in my head just kept on spinning.
Emotions that first began spinning out of control just a day after Maya reached 7 months old.
He called me saying she's running a fever, she's just not acting right.
In fact, this picture of Maya was snapped a day before she was rushed to the hospital. A trip from Maya to treat what they thought was a run-of-the-mill illness.
I remember going into that room and I was like, her heart rate was going down, and the nurse told me, Aaron, we're going to call a code. And I'm like, going to start CPR on my own child.
A trip with no return home.
After 3 brain death tests, they pronounced you dead on the morning of October 16, 2016. Maya, I was there for you in the beginning. And there for you in death. I never wanted to leave your side. Sorry. Your mommy and daddy got to hold you one last time.
3 days after losing Maya.
3, 2, 1. Bless the heart.
2-year-old Ivana Harris of Shreveport discovered new life.
And they called me and they said, we got a heart for Ivana. And I screamed and yelled.
With a new heart.
Dear recipient family, as the parents of the donor, we would like to extend our hearts and greetings to you.
Months later, her mother Valerie then received this letter.
We also would love to share about our little girl and to welcome you to write back if you would like to.
That letter gave her the long-awaited chance to do something she never thought possible.
I was like, oh my gosh, is this for real?
To say thanks.
Hello.
Hey, Aaron. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Over the last couple of years, Valerie and Aaron have closely bonded over this one heart now beating for 2.
So what's Ivana doing?
Over here with her granddad, being sassy.
They talk often while sharing stories and pictures of Ivana.
I would feel down one day and I would ask Valerie, hey, do you mind sending me a picture of Ivana? Because just seeing her smile is worth the many, many tears.
What helps me, I think, get through more of it is knowing that her heart is still beating in another child.
Are you teasing me?
Those phone calls now include stories about Aaron and Trevor's new baby, Zoe.
It was very uncanny to see the resemblances between Maya and Zoe.
Happy and healthy, but still a bundle of worry for any mother who suffered through a smiling life being taken away in a matter of a couple of days.
Once we got over the 7th month with her, my anxiety kind of just went like, okay, we got this. So there we
That
go.
decision to have another child was an emotionally challenging one to make, for sure, but not nearly as emotionally jarring as the one Aaron and Trevor were faced with just 3 days before Maya's heart was placed in Ivana's chest.
When she passed away, there has to be something more than just death in itself.
In the death of a child, there is no driver's license with that child's organ donor wishes clearly marked. What comes next is the most difficult conversation a parent will have. That talk with a donor representative. And it's just as uneasy and painful for that person who's just working to save other lives. But on that very day here in Topeka, Kansas, October 16th, 2016, Maya's mother, Erin, made it remarkably easier than what's usually expected at such a heartbreaking time.
I never saw her heart rate falter. I never saw her blood pressure falter. I knew her heart was strong.
Erin took as much pain out of that conversation as she could when a representative from the Midwest Transplant Network sat her down for that talk.
And it is a very delicate, very difficult conversation to have because families are grieving.
A talk about saving other children when you've yet to accept why your own child could not be saved.
And I knew in the back of my mind, organ donation. Like, what if I can't get her back?
Especially in the case of a tiny baby and a pediatric donor, it just touches our hearts so deeply to know that in their time of grief, they are thinking of other people.
At Midwest Transplant in Kansas City, their memorial garden is surrounded by photos and the names of donors who either shared their decision to save other lives with a marking on their license or directly with family members.
So one donor has the opportunity to save up to 8 lives.
Her liver went to a 3-year-old little girl.
Maya's liver, intestines, and heart were medically viable enough to save lives all across the U.S.
When we heard that her heart was going to a 3-month-old little girl, joy went throughout the entire room.
To a little girl in some southern U.S. city she'd never been to, much less heard of before, Shreveport.
For those who don't know me, I'm Erin Young.
From one difficult decision to the next, now Erin shares about Maya, her short life on this earth, and their decision to allow her organs to save the lives of others.
We can't get a little girl back, but imagine being that parent that just got told that their child has a second chance at life.
Erin volunteers as the organ donor ambassador all across the Kansas-Missouri region.
I get a little nervous, but also when I get up to that stage, I always tell myself, I'm like, this is in honor of her. I'm doing this, keeping her memory alive. That's when I feel the closest to her. And so that's when my nerves just fade away.
Maybe her nerves, but never the memory of a young girl named Maya, who's brought so much joy and life after death.
I'm proud of her, super proud of her, even though she's 7 months old. You never know, 7-month-old could be a little hero, but you can. I promise you these 3 things. I'll never forget you. I'll always miss you, and I'll always love you. I'll love you always and forever. Your mommy.
And tonight I've got the green organ donor bracelet on. There you go, Erin. Got the matching tie to boot. 2 big things Erin would like me to share with you. Have that what-if conversation now with your spouse about organ donation concerning your children. Yes, it is a tough one to have, but have it. And for us older folks, make sure you check yes at the DMV when you're renewing your license. You see this guy? Remember 3 weeks ago we told you how Ivana's grandfather, Charles Glover, had a heart transplant some 22 years ago. Well, just last week he had another checkup. The news is fantastic. Look at those thumbs up. All thumbs up from the doctors and Charles. Way to go, Charles.
We are going to be bordering on hot tomorrow with temperature